introduce ourselves. We've got Sheriff Hansel.
Sheriff Billy Hansel, Humboldt County.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Deck. I'm the Chief Prosecutor for the Yurok Tribe.
Hi, Rosemary. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julie Oliveira. I am the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Investigator for the Yurok Tribe.
Awesome. Okay, great. So we've got kind of a trifecta right now here in front of me.
Dream team.
The dream team.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
We got this.
So now, how important is this event today for future cases and investigations going forward?
So without further ado,
Yeah, this is the first event in the state. They want to replicate this throughout the state because this is not just a problem here locally. This is a problem throughout the state. There are several missing and murdered Indigenous people around the state. There's definitely open investigations that we need to adhere to and pay attention to, and it's about the tribes and the government and the community coming together to find and help with these cases, because these cases don't occur, in broad daylight in front of other people. These are cases that occur, sometimes they're reported 3 or 4 days late, sometimes weeks late, and not in front of law enforcement. So we need the community's help, and for us to be able to work together in order for us to solve these crimes and to bring closure to the family members. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. And so, Rosemary Deck, what is your role in this trifecta? What role do you play when there's a case afoot?
Sure. So, as the Chief Prosecutor for the Yurok Tribe, I was brought on in July of 2021 to essentially build out our prosecutor's office. It's not what you would typically think of at a prosecutor's office, like a district attorney.
Okay.
We do policy advocacy, tribal court litigation. We've also recently hired our dedicated MMIP investigator, Julie Oliveira.
Right.
So we're essentially building out the connections between our justice partners in the county, in both counties that bifurcate the reservation, and just making sure that there's a voice to advocate that these cases get adequately prosecuted, that we can connect people with resources, and now with our dedicated MMIP investigator, we can really help kind of step in and join in partnership with local law enforcement agencies to extend parts of the reservation that maybe they can't as easily access. And because she's dedicated to look at these cases, it's not as though she's acting, and responding to a call for service and has to be pulled away from that to go and look at these cases. So we're really honored to have Julia, who's both worked as a sheriff's deputy as well as a tribal law enforcement officer. So we really think she's perfect for the position.
Okay, great. So she kind of knows the best of both worlds there, right?
Absolutely.
And you kind of answered my question, but I was just going to kind of clarify or ask somebody to clarify what would be the difference between a normal a tribal police officer and Oliveira here?
Sure. So Julie's cross-deputized, Julie is sworn through the Yurok Tribal Police Department. So she does actually have active law enforcement status, but instead of being just a regular officer who has to go out and respond to things as they come up, her only assignment is investigating MMIP cases.
Got it.
So even though she is a law enforcement officer with the power to enforce California state law, that's not her main assignment. Her assignment is focused in on looking for MMIP in the northern region, not just from the Yurok tribe or our ancestral territory, but all cases in this region, because we don't know how they're connected or if they're connected, and so I don't think it does anyone any favors to only look at it, in a tunnel.
Gotcha. Tunnel vision is bad in this scenario here. So I wanted to ask you guys about the CLETS system, or what's available to tribal officers versus, say, the sheriff's department, how that impacts investigations.
For sure. So right now, CLETS access is limited to law enforcement officers or tribes that petition DOJ, the Attorney General, to receive that access. So
You know what, maybe I should back up and have somebody explain what the CLETS system is.
All right, so the CLETS system is a computer database that California law enforcement uses to transmit and receive confidential messages such as missing persons, the missing persons index and database, also wanted persons, probation status, and so it's a way for us to share that critical information. Also, uploading information like missing persons cases, like restraining order cases. All those things are necessary, and it's something that's actually active legislation is going on in our state legislature to provide CLETS access to all the tribes as opposed to a petition that has to be made. So it's something that we hope that'll get changed, that all tribes will have access, because tribes can and Rosemary can talk about this, can issue restraining orders. However, to get those in the system, sometimes it takes days because they have to go through our superior court. So
Right, and that's something I was going to ask about specifically is restraining orders, because I would imagine that there is some crossover with domestic violence or these issues.
And MMIP.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. So MMIP does intersect with a number of other issues, including domestic violence and protective orders. And so what's so important about this CLETS issue is that the sovereign nation, the tribe, can issue a valid domestic violence restraining order, but some tribes don't have the ability to enter those into any systems, and some tribes only have the ability to enter those into NCIC, which is a national database. So what could end up happening is that, one of Sheriff Hansel's deputies could make a traffic stop and not really be able to see everything he needs to see in that moment to protect that person, to protect themselves. And so if we can't properly uphold domestic violence restraining orders when someone has been brave enough to go and say, I'm in danger and I need protection, we're kind of setting them up to fail, right? And I think that every time someone who has gone and gotten a restraining order doesn't have that honored or really has to fight to have it respected or even viewed in the system, it's a disincentive for them every time to go and ask for help. So it sets them up at a disadvantage, it sets the victim up for a disadvantage, and so having access to CLETS is a really important push that we're making for tribal police officers.
Okay. How is that gonna unfold? Like, who's in charge of making that change, or would that be, I don't know, the California Senate or the AG? How does that work?
There's some legislation that's kind of in motion right now that Assemblymember James Ramos is sponsoring. It's AB 44.
AB 44.
That has to do with tribal police officers, but that is not in its final iteration yet.
Right.
But what's important is that you have all the stakeholders participating in this together. So it's not as though the tribe's working on this in a vacuum. I mean, you just heard Sheriff Hansel talk about the need for it as well. So we've all identified the need, and I think the best way to advocate for that is to come together in coalition and really explain how it hampers all of our abilities to do our jobs.
I see. Okay, thank you for enlightening me on that one. And then just generally, I'm aware that we had 6 jurisdictions of Sheriff's County representing different counties here. That's unprecedented, right?
yes. So this is something that oftentimes doesn't pay attention to geographic boundaries, right? So a person may become missing in Shasta County, but they're from Humboldt County. And the law says that you can report a missing person no matter where you are, what time of day, and who to report it to. If it's a law enforcement officer, they're supposed to take the missing persons case and then refer it back to the jurisdiction. And so we wanted, as sheriffs in the North State, have shoulder to shoulder to say that we are here to work on this issue together, and that we cannot do this alone. That we do need the tribe's help, and that we do need the help of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the California Department of Justice. All these partners coming together to really reach the tribes and reach the people that the families that are of the missing and murdered Indigenous people. It's something that we need to make sure that we're all working together, and that's what this day is really all about.
Great. Thank you for that. Any further thoughts about, I know you can't speak to any pending cases, but I feel like this is an exciting moment where people are offering potentially additional information, stories, witness testimony, that kind of, and DNA, right?
Exactly.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so a lot of good things happening. We have our investigators here, so if anyone wants to add information to an existing case, we're able to talk to our investigators. If someone wants to report someone missing, we have those people here as well. Our deputy sheriffs are here to make sure that the people, can be reported missing. And then DNA. We have several families that have never submitted DNA on their missing persons cases, and I know at least 6 now that have submitted DNA. So it's something just today.
Wow.
So it's something that again can be huge. And so it's going to be it's going to be something that we constantly have to work on.
Yeah.
Communication and coordination with all of our partners is something that's going to be continuously worked on, and we're gonna put forth an effort to try and make sure this happens.
And going forward, are you aware if they're going to do a repeat of this event?
So they want to replicate this event all over the state.
Okay.
So Mary Lopez Kiefer from the California Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, said they wanted to come here first because of our relationships that we already have.
Oh, okay.
And
So it started with a phone call.
Yeah, absolutely. The phone
I got
call
a
and said,
and
Yep.
I was working for Blue Lake at the time, and I said yes, and then I went and talked to the council, and
yeah, can we make this happen? And absolutely, we can
and
make
then
it happen.
Jason was like, Sure.
Yeah. So we're thankful, yeah, for the Blue Lake.
A good example of
Yeah.
community being proactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
So yeah, so this is going to be a great framework to spread throughout the state. And again, I think Humboldt County leads the way in how law enforcement and the tribes work together. Doesn't mean that we're perfect, but it means that we have a relationship enough that we can go through and we can make the best out of these situations.
And
So
there's room for improvement, but that's why we're here,
Always.
right?
that's right.
Always. It doesn't matter what it is, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.